Louis, to kick things off, can you tell our supporters a bit more about this new video diary series and what they can expect from these regular updates?
Yeah, so we are obviously aware that supporters and staff within the club alike feel that communication from the club recently, I mean, from my experience since I joined in November, hasn't been the greatest. I think there's huge room for improvement on that, and you know, the big thing is visibility of the people at the club. So this is the first episode of, as you say, a video diary series where we're looking to get staff within the club, so the likes of myself, the chairman Shahid, our commercial manager Mark Butler, etc., etc., to sit on camera for a few minutes, every 3 to 4 weeks, and provide a bit of an update and also answer some of the pressing topics going on around the club at the moment.
Okay, as you're still fairly new to the club, can you introduce yourself to our fans and share a bit about your role as the club secretary and your experience so far at Aldershot Town?
Yeah, certainly. So the first club that I got involved with in non-league was Hampton and Richmond, so in the National League South. I joined mainly involved in media work, but that eventually transitioned into more administrative work and becoming the club secretary there. That came to an end over the summer just gone, and then most recently joined Aldershot Town here. Had a hell of a teacher in Bob Green, who's still around the club a couple of days a week, which is fantastic, and a fantastic welcome from supporters as well, which I think is quite unique to Aldershot. I don't know how many secretaries join a club and get supporters coming up to them on match days and welcoming them and saying good luck and what have you. So that's been a real positive, and overall I think the team of staff and volunteers that we've got here are really incredible at what they do, all the different departments that we've got, the team of volunteers that come in during the week, the team of volunteers we have on match days as well. There's a real sense of community within that, and then of course by extension the supporters are a part of that as well. So it's been a baptism of fire in some elements for sure, which I'm sure we'll touch on briefly in a moment, but very, very positive overall, and I'm looking forward to what we can do together.
So one of the big talking points recently has been the ballot for the tickets to the Sittingbourne FA Trophy match. Could you take us through that decision-making process behind how the ballot was set up and why it was necessary?
Yeah, so it's been, throughout any season, it's very busy, and for the team of staff at Aldershot Town, we're a small collective. We're all willing to roll up our sleeves and get involved in absolutely anything, whether that's putting down the frost covers for the Chertsey game at short notice, what have you. So we knew it was going to be tough when we found out the allocation. We were expecting a little bit more than that, but I believe that the local police at Sittingbourne agreed a slightly lower than expected capacity for health and safety reasons, and you obviously just got to work with that. So it then became, how are we going to get tickets to fans in the fairest possible way? Seeing the response to it, I think we communicated what we were going to do quite well. I think a lot of people were, rightfully frustrated that they weren't going to be necessarily in the priority position that they would have wanted to get the tickets. But again, it's a ballot that this club, to my knowledge, hasn't had to do or had to prepare for quite some time. I'm sure someone will be able to tell us when the last ballot took place for tickets. But I think we generally did it quite well. If we end up in a similar scenario in future, are there certain things that we'd look to improve on and do differently? 100%. 100%. We're never going to stand here and say that we've made the perfect decisions. I think the important thing for us was to make a decision and then stick with it and make sure that we follow through with it. The big thing that I want to get across, again, just referencing the staff and the volunteers and how hard we all work, was the decision that we did come to. Again, people entitled to disagree, and you know, I've had a lot of chats with supporters, and they make incredibly valid points, and again, it's something that we'll look to in the future. But we really did try. It was, I think, once the news came out, with a little under a month to go before the fixture, it was pretty much 3 solid days of back and forths, with myself, with the chairman, with our communications team, our commercial team, trying to work out what the best way to do it was. So it wasn't a rush decision. It was one that we really took our time with, and we knew we were going to let people down. You know, we were going to let some groups down or in some way. Ultimately, we had to make a decision, as I said, and that's what we did. We'll always look to improve our processes in the future, but you know, I think it's an exciting fixture. I hope the supporters who, you know, have picked up their tickets are excited, and it should hopefully be a great occasion.
We know that recent weather conditions have led to some match postponements and questions about the pitch. Can you give us an update on the current state of the pitch and any ongoing work to ensure that the best possible condition for the rest of the season?
Yeah, so a few points to cover on that. First of all, Larkstall, the current company who look after our pitch on a day-to-day basis, they've been fantastic. You know, I know them from working at Hampton. They were part of the grounds team last season. And that pitch, you know, if you speak to Hampton and Richmond supporters, that pitch was in dire need of some TLC up until that point. But last season, and following on from that this season, their pitch is in superb condition. So, you know, they've had a bit of a baptism of fire coming into, you know, 2 very wet, mild winters in a row. But again, the club absolutely has some things that it did wrong. You know, there was, I think it was during November, again, quite a wet week, 4 games played within the space of a few days. And I think it's you know, it's quite easy to put your hands up and say that was an error. That was an error, and it's something that we again look to learn from. We're stuck with the pitch how it is for this season. You know, especially during the winter, there's not an awful lot you can do to kind of remedy it. So we're all in that boat together, and we know that we've got to put work into it. And so that's what we've done. After the Fylde game was postponed, we had a proper sit-down meeting with Larkstall, and we've got a plan in place to start looking at the works that need doing in the summer to bring it into line with where it should be, because it currently isn't for, you know, the reasons stated. So again, it's something that is an ongoing issue. We currently can't do too much about it. We just have to try and manage what we've got as best we can. But we absolutely are looking to remedy the situation over the summer.
Okay, so looking ahead, how do you plan to keep our supporters informed? And are there any exciting plans or initiatives you are working on to improve communication between the club and our fans?
Yeah, so on a sort of micro basis, my door's always open. Again, referencing earlier, I've had a few fans get in touch via email about the Sittingbourne game, and I've gone back to them and again stressed that if they do ever want to have a face-to-face chat as well instead of over email, because I know some things can get lost in text dialogue, they're more than welcome to. I'm always around on home match days, some away days as well. So on that level, the big thing is, you know, please do feel free to come and have a chat. And it's, you know, we're all trying to work for the betterment of the club and to put the club into the best situation it can be under whatever circumstances it's in. And sometimes us within the club can get lost with different things. So to hear an outside perspective is absolutely fantastic, and that's what we want to hear more of in terms of the club on a day-to-day basis. And then finally, in terms of this series, you know, this is very much a pilot. I hope that, again, people will probably disagree with a lot of things I've had to say, or will feel that I've missed certain things out. Again, that's absolutely fine. We'll try our best. We can't necessarily cover everything in a short interview like this, but the main goal in its early stages is just to open back up some dialogue again, especially to supporters who necessarily don't live in the area and can't get to games and speak to us. And though they are absolutely no less important than the ones who live in and around Hampshire. So that's really important to us. It'll be the likes of myself. It'll be Shahid. I think he'll be in our next episode in a few weeks' time. And whilst we want to cover topics that we think are relevant, we also want to encourage fans to get involved. So submitting questions, sensible ones, of course, and we can absolutely continue that dialogue and hopefully build on it. We just want to get supporters into a situation where they feel less disillusioned, they feel a bit more in touch with people at the club, and they, even if they don't agree, have a bit more of an understanding of how we've come to certain scenarios or how we've made certain decisions. And that's the big thing from me that I want to see from this series.